Hello, I'm back with many more knives to take a look at here. So, picking up where we last left off, we have the TS169 here. This is an M390, titanium milled frame lock going on here. Very, very nice and thin. Flipper tab works super great on this. It is a very, very neutral, pretty, I don't know exactly how I would describe that other than kind of simple-ish. It's got that central groove that I guess Ray Laconico is kind of known for doing a lot these days, but hey, he's certainly not the first one to do that. Bit of the blade is quite exposed, probably from about here up. It's it'll get you. And this one certainly has gotten me, unfortunately. So that's something you might want to keep in mind. But a lot of the rest of it is really great. The very simplistic nature of the construction on here. We have basically a pivot on both sides, and then a pen that'll hold that back spacer a little bit more stable. And the flipper tab, which is really, really well designed going on there. We also have jimping up all there, so it's maybe you could front flip it. I don't know. But that obviously isn't super exposed when the knife is open. So, Next up, we have the TS177 Maverick, and this is another one of their flagship kind of designs. This is a Tepe Designs and Night Morning collaboration. This one is number 496. And yeah, this is pretty interesting as far as the handle material goes. This is quite heavily milled out titanium on both sides there. I kind of thought that it looked a little bit more like diamond plate or something like that. Diamond plate steel or whatnot. From the pictures, but getting a hold of it, no, it's definitely different, and it's got some teeth to it. Does kind of remind me a bit, I mean, it's more aggressive because it's metal, but it does remind me of third generation Spyderco handles where they had the volcano grip before they went to the bi-directional sort of things going on there. Quite nice. Very, very tall blade on this thing, but it's a saber grind to it, so not a full flat grind, but still pretty darn decent blade geometry going on overall. Very, very nice sharpening choil there. You have plenty to sharpen with. The handle, for me, is just a little tiny bit on the smaller side, but that ends up happening on a lot of Tepe's designs. But this one is, you know, very, very acceptable comparative to a lot of those. You know, I can definitely get all four of my fingers on there. But if I do want to absolutely have them, have my pinky feel like it's not going to slide off in the slightest, I do feel just a little tiny bit cramped up front. Probably because the flipper tab curves down just a little bit. But super nice knife. Next up is another Tepe design, but not a collaboration with Night Morning. This is the Vortex, or at least the TS180-up version here. This is a front flipper, but it also has some titanium thumb things on there. I've done the anodization on here, so it doesn't come that way, but yeah, I just wanted something purple. And yeah, this one is basically like a 3.5 sort of finger affair for me, which is pretty typical with a lot of Tepe's designs in general. Has quite a bit of milling holes going on here. This one's an M390. And this one's also numbered, number 190. And long time later on, they made a burl wood version of this, like you did with another one that I had taken a look at a little while back. So this actually does have some blacking on the blade, but only on the flats, and they've basically done a satin finish elsewhere. But that blacking is also on the liners and whatnot, which I think actually doesn't do the action on this a great service. So it's something that I'm going to try to probably try to polish that out on where it actually rides on the bearings and the and that bearing race and everything to try to take care of that. And this one is number 71. Okay, and we have the TS182 and M390. Now, I had some fun doing some anodization on this. This one is mostly carbon fiber, but yeah, the pocket clip and the back spacer is titanium. This thing is quite a nice design. The flipper tab sticks out quite a bit, but very, very effective. I really like the blade shape on this. This is a long design, and it's an M390. And yeah, we have stupid thick carbon fiber scales on this, which I'm perfectly fine with. This thing is really hand-filling, super comfortable. The thing that I actually bought it for was I was interested in taking a look at some TwoSuns that actually have a thumb stud. And, well, this one comes up, and this one is very, very much tuned to use the back flipper. So these, you can deploy it with that, but it is very uncomfortable to do so. You would probably want to change out or lessen the lock bar tension on there if you want to use those thumb studs for deployment. Otherwise, they kind of use that as a blade stop there. So, yep, another kind of one of their fancier ones there. Alright, now this one is stupid, and I really suggest that nobody buys one of these, but this is the TS185 Razor Comb, or RC, from Night Morning Design. This is in 14C28N. It's supposed to look basically like a straight razor, and then you can use the back titanium tines here for like a beard comb. However, this thing stops. It's got a blade stop there. And if you're using a straight razor, this part is supposed to go through the handle and loop onto one of your fingers over this way. So there's that. And other than that, I mean, the geometry of this really isn't designed to be used as a as a straight razor at all. So it's a really interesting shape. But there's absolutely no locking on it, but it's not designed for that. I basically consider it a novelty. This one doesn't have bearings in there. It's one of the few that doesn't, and it makes sense for it, but sure. So there's that one. Okay, we got our stack of rattlesnakes here. So we got the TS201. This is the only other one that I'm familiar with that uses their carbon fiber laminate over G10. It's blue in this particular case. And, yeah, it's 14C28N blade steel on here. Harpoonish blade going on here. A lot of lock bar access, but it's really uncomfortable the way that they've scalloped out some of that and whatnot. And for probably whatever reason, this knife, the heat treat on it was not super good. This was the first TwoSun that I'd tried in 14C28N for a cut test, and got really worried because this one didn't do great at all. But then I did that that other Wong one in the black and white G10, and it did chef's kiss much better. So there's that. Now we have the TS202-LM, and that stands for linen micarta. And yes, this is a different micarta than they've used on some other stuff. It does feel a little bit higher quality, which is pretty interesting. We have a downward canted flipper tab here for that pretty aggressive hawkbill sort of thing going on there. Really nice sharpening choil going on there. I do like that. This does have their folded over steel pocket clip, and it is right where I hate it for it to be, so it's very uncomfortable there. And with the beak kind of going there and swelling up, it just kind of exacerbates that. So this isn't the most comfortable knife that I have in my collection. We do have lock bar access. It's quite a bit, but they didn't do any scalloping like they did on the previous one there. Pretty interesting design, and I do appreciate the better quality micarta going on there. Okay, we have the TS205-Drop. They also make this in a Tonto variant. This is a titanium integral, but as you can see, the blade is incredibly exposed. And apparently, from what I've heard, it's possible that this was designed for kind of prepping cigarillos before people would go ahead and light those up or whatnot. They can easily cut the X in there from the chute, and this is probably supposed to be designed around that same kind of size and whatnot to be able to split the end for whatever they end up doing for that. But it ends up just being ridiculously unsafe, just having that much of the blade exposed all the time. Yeah, it's interesting. It's comfortable to actually carry. The pocket clip works out all right on it. It's just, you know, scary that you always have quite a bit of exposed blade on here. This one's an M390. And, as I did in my teardown of this, this is one of the few that I've seen that have brass caged bearings rather than the nylon caged ones. Probably because there can be a little bit of extra forces being applied when you're trying to put together an integral. So, there's that. Alright, next up we have here is the TS207. This is the drop version, and I guess it does kind of maybe drop just a little tiny bit, but yeah, I would say this is a little bit more of a traditional Japanese Tonto-ish kind of grind to it, which is kind of interesting, as it's called the drop. It's hollow ground on the front here, but still not super thin behind the edge, unfortunately. And they do have this back part here that's very, very pokey for your lanyard and whatnot. So you really don't want to hold that for poking, because it's going to get you almost as much as whatever you're trying to get with it. They also make this in a more American style Tonto sort of thing going on there. But otherwise, everything is exactly the same on them. G10 handles that kind of coffin-esque in shape. And they do have some interesting designs going on there, but unfortunately they don't really add to the ergonomics. It's not exactly a fantastic knife. But okay, now I have the TS208, and I have this in a couple of variants here. This one is using green micarta, and hooray, I think it's basically the same kind of stuff that they were using on this one. Which is, yeah, it's definitely a step up. This is some good stuff for micarta. This is a pretty burly knife. They were a lot larger than than I thought they would be when I first picked them up. I've scratched the ever-living crap out of that blade when I was doing some sharpening on it. Oops, but what are you going to do? Yeah, this says those blackened liners in there, and this is D2, even though it's kind of one of their newer ones. But yeah, they've also started using some D2 again on some other knives, and that are a little bit more recent, probably because they don't develop micro scratches or something like that quite as much as 14C28N does. We have some shadow box liners on there that aren't exactly my favorite thing in the entire universe, but it does a pretty darn good job. The folded over clip is a little bit annoying, but it is a little bit less so as well if you choke up there. But that's the micarta variant. We also do have the black and white G10 variant here, which was the first one that I got. And this was called the Wave. I think that's just basically the different pattern here. Interesting that it's not milled or anything up at the front and then kind of gone down there in the back. Almost like it's trying to act like a bit of a Barlow bolster or something like that. But obviously not a slip joint. And, you know, other things. Like I said, this thing is quite a bit of a bruiser. So, next up is very new to my collection. This is TS212. And this is a straight back design here. We got carbon fiber inlay on the front here. We have a triple kind of grind relief going on here. Trying to remember this guy's name.
Tigwas Onishikin.
But something I have noticed on some that are coming out very, very, very recently is they actually have the model number printed on them. This one's in D2, and it's very, very new. Even though it's number 212. So, yeah, keep that in mind. I really, really like this design. It's a bit smaller than I thought, but it doesn't feel small. It just is a little bit more compact than I would otherwise normally see. I do notice that the milling lines on here are actually quite deep, so they offer quite a bit of grip to it, if that's something that you're particularly looking for. It's a neat design. I like it quite a bit. All right, here's a TS216 Lovebird from Jelly Jerry, and we're going to be seeing his name a lot right here. This one's a pretty straightforward design, very straight neutral handle. However, it extends out in the back rather than curving around, making it really nice and comfortable for even us with those larger paws. This also has a wire clip. Unfortunately, it's quite flexible, so it'll probably be fairly easy to get damaged and whatnot. But otherwise, I really do like this thing. It's got a compound grind to it, making that tip just a little bit thicker. This one's in 14C28N. And the thumb stud does incorporate into the handle to compactize it just a little bit. The blade's decently protected in there as well. Alright, next up we got the TS217. This one kind of has a reverse sort of thing going on here. So it's got a carbon fiber bolster instead. It's front flip basically only. Yeah, a little bit of a drop point going on here. Pocket clip works out all right. As I had pointed out in my review that I did just recently, this does look kind of funky. However, it is it's anchored here as well as a tab underneath there, so you really don't have any worry about that breaking or anything on you, and it doesn't really poke me or anything like that when I have it in my hand. So yeah, I like this thing quite a bit. I have a hole here because I have the TS219 coming to me, as they're very, very new, and it's not here yet, but I have the space available for it. So, moving on. Yeah, moving on, we have here, and I have some missing from there, but that's oh, I'm missing one. Hold on one moment. There we are. I've been playing around with that a little bit more recently as I'm getting ready to review it. But okay, so sticking on with Jelly Jerry, we have quite a few more from him. We got the TS220 Nautilus. This one is an M390. I do believe that they did make an original run in 14C28N. Nice titanium frame lock. Does remind me quite a bit of the of that blue and white G10 kind of TwoSun from Night Morning, the TS66 that I talked about quite a while back. Like this thing quite a bit. Next up, we got the TS222, also from Jelly Jerry. I'm not familiar with a name that would have been given to this. I did the aftermarket stonewashing on this myself here. Yeah, 14C28N. We got a recurve clip point tanto. Yeah, it's interesting. It's fairly thick in the G10 handles as well, but quite nice and ergonomic if you really just want to just smash through a lot of stuff. This thing does a great job at that. But not one that I've seen around for a while, so I don't know if they've discontinued it or not. This was one I had to go and get. This is the Monarch, or the TS223-CF. And this one has a very tall blade on him. Quite leaf-ish kind of shape. The point does come up just a little bit more than I would consider for a leaf shape, but that's fine. We got M390 on this, and this thing, well, for one, the blade stock on this is about is the thickest I've kind of come across. I've measured this at 4.1 millimeters. However, because it's so tall, this thing comes down to a ridiculously thin grind back here, so it slices just amazingly, which is great. Something that I have been wrestling with a little bit is it's not quite as chamfered over on like any of these areas as a lot of others are. So you do end up feeling some corners and whatnot on there, which is just a little unfortunate in general, because everything else about this thing is just great. Let's see, we have the TS224 Viper. This one's in 14C28N, but they also make it in M390. This has a little carbon fiber inlay on the front. I'll open this guy up. And yeah, we have a compound grind clip point sort of thing going on here. Very comfortable in the hand. This isn't quite as large as some of these others from Jelly Jerry, but yeah, just a great ergonomic feel to it. I don't really have anything super crazy going on with any hot spots. The pocket clip works out quite well, and you can see actually where it lands there. It's not actually putting any pressure on the lock bar because it's at the lock bar release sort of area. And this thing has some amazing action going on it. All right, next up, we got the TS226 Ghost. And this one has kind of two slabs of carbon fiber in the front there, and one kind of on the back. In that particular way, I guess it a little bit reminds me of some of the way that Sebenzas do some of their inlays, but you know, obviously we have a little bit different design going on here. This one has a flipper as well as a front flipper, which is a little bit more difficult to use than some of the others. Not unergonomic, but it does require just a little bit of practice, because you do need to be just a little bit further up than you tend to need to on some of the others. Pretty interesting here. We have quite a bit of a hole in the blade and then a fuller out the rest of it. That does make the blade just a little bit lighter and more nimble, so that's nice. Pretty comfortable in hand. Really can't complain about any of that. And yeah, this one comes down to a really, really nice edge as well. All right, next one from Jelly Jerry, we got the TS227 Dreadnought. And this one is quite the vicious clip point looking thing. Very tall. A little bit of a compound grind, but I think this one's a little bit more for aesthetics rather than adding a whole lot of functionality to it. This one's using their kind of funky middle of the road brown micarta. I have sanded and re-oiled this one like I've done with a lot of the others, but this one looks like it's drying out a little bit. So I'd either have to carry it and use it a whole lot or re-oil it to have it kind of be a little bit more consistent in color. I do like that it has a nested liner in there. It is interesting that we don't have a liner on the other side. We pretty much just have that bearing hole in there. Generally don't see that on a lot of micarta. G10 can hold up to it. Micarta a lot of times can't, but this one does certainly seem to do the job. Nice action on it, and still feels nice and sturdy. Like I can't really flex that or anything. Okay, so here we have the TS228 Aurora, and I really wanted to like this knife. Yeah, really wicked blade shape on there. It's got just a hint of a compound grind going on there. Unfortunately, what I've run into is a little bit like what I've run into on the Monarch here is I think I need a little bit more chamfering going on around the edges on here, because it just feels pointy and sharp, like all the way around, and it should feel that on the blade, but not really the handle itself. So in that particular way, it's I guess a little bit unfortunate in general, but I still like it and glad to have it in my collection. Yeah, just wish a little bit more rounding happened around those corners there. Okay, and the last Jelly Jerry I got here is the TS229-M390. This is also known as the Megalodon, and it's a front flipper only. And yeah, just looking at it, I can understand why a lot of people probably kind of look past this one, but wow, does this thing have some great ergonomics going on there. This thing just slips in there like it belonged to you at birth. It is very comfortable. I don't like the choil on there, so I'm just going to consider that a sharpening choil, and in that particular way, works out quite well. Yeah, having the blade canted down like that really makes it nice. Obviously, that point up there isn't going to be super useful to try to get down onto the board for utility cuts, but that's what you have this point for. So that helps you do a lot of the utility cuts, but you can also poke if something in front of you needs poking. This one's got carbon fiber on both sides. The pocket clip is a little bit longer than some of the others. That doesn't bother me, but it could for some people. Depends on the particular pants that they're going to be wearing with it. And it's got this fuller here, so if you have a bit of practice and whatnot, you can do that. But hey, the front flipper works just fine, so I'm going to stick with that. Nice crenellations up top here. Yeah, I did mention it in the model number, but this is M390. So, there is my Jelly Jerry so far, except for that TS219, which I don't have yet. Alright, here's the TS231. And I really like this knife here. Now I did the anodization of blue and gold on there, because I thought it would be fun. It's that guy with the lion thing again. Don't remember, Vincent Oliver, maybe? I'm not sure. But I really do like the ergonomics on this thing a lot. And the action on it is just amazing. Especially because, you know, there's not just the enormous, thick, massive blade on there that makes some others drop shut super easy. And I guess a lot of people just weren't paying attention because it wasn't from one of their main makers, because I mean, I got this during when they were available on eBay, and geez, I want to say I paid like 45 to 50 bucks for it, and it was worth every dang penny. All right, so we got Night Morning coming up here for this one that looks very Art Deco-ish. Kind of, you know, picture the Chrysler building or something like that. Now this one is TS232 pointed, but I have the round version here. So that pointed is a clip point with yeah, quite that what would you call that? Like a splinter seeker kind of tip there. Very nice and thin for being able to deal with a lot of that. These things are super attractive. I like it quite a bit. Here's also a round version. I don't remember which one was which. One of them I ended up buying from OCD for EDC, and the other one I ended up winning an auction on like 3 or 4 days later. So I got them right around the same time. I do think I do like the rounded version just a little bit more, though. It seems to be a little bit more my speed for a lot of EDC sort of things. This one is definitely super pokey, but yeah, the tip on it's just a little delicate there. So this one seems like it'd probably just be a little bit more robust. I like that. But the action on these are great. I really do like the design going on there. At first, I just kind of thought it was designed to be kind of mimicking some jigged bone. But yeah, as I look at it, it's got an Art Deco flair to it. So. Neat knife in 2 different blade shapes. All right, we have the TS235 in that funky burlap micarta. And this one actually has some voids in there. About the only one I've ever seen from TwoSun like that. But that's okay, because I paid very little money for this thing. This is from Fazel Azim. And wow, that is a choice for a blade shape. That is for sure. That's I mean, as best as I can assume, this is like a recurve Persian Tanto or something like that. Yeah, it is very out there. Unfortunately, the handle on this one is just a little bit too short for me to enjoy having my pinky kind of be there. It's a little bit there at the shelf at the end, but it doesn't feel very stable, unfortunately. That's just kind of how it is with some of those more mid-sized knives. This is in 14C28N, and one of those few that you can have as a left-handed pocket. Clip moving sort of thing there. Yeah. I have no idea what this blade shape is actually useful for, but certainly looks interesting. And hey, these things usually sold for somewhere around 30 to 35 bucks, so it was definitely worth picking up. Okay, we got the TS236 here, and this one seems to have been popular for quite a while. I did do the anodization a little bit more bronzy on this one. This is a long design. Reminds me quite a bit of that TS158 that got a little while ago, or took a look at a little while back. This one's in 14C28N. Very ergonomic. It's got those finger grooves that just work out super, super nice. Nice thumb grooves and everything sort of that, you know, nice up there. Really, really nice. I do appreciate this thing quite a bit. Fairly delicate tip on there, so, you know, this isn't something that you want to open a paint can with, but otherwise, yeah, there's a lot to like about this knife. I really do appreciate it. Okay, and we have the TS237, which is a collaboration knife. Yeah, we got a carbon fiber inlay on the front here. Nothing on the back, just more titanium. We have a front flipper, which is interesting that the jimping's here rather than further up. And we got the flipper on the back here. We can see we have maybe just a gradual bit of a drop point sort of going on there, but a very, very nice, useful blade shape. This is a collaboration between Wong and Matt Szymanski, which I'm not really familiar with a lot of Matt's other work. I should probably remedy at that at some point, but hey, what are you going to do? This one has quite a bit of tape glue on there because I've definitely used this one quite a bit. This one really feels like a powerhouse. Very, very ergonomic in the hand. Just curves exactly where you think that it should. And that jimping when it's open, pretty great. You can also choke up. It's not quite the choil there, but you know, the flipper tab does let you get super nice and up there and personal with the blade if that's what you're into. Nice lock bar access. The flipper works pretty darn good. You do have to worry a little bit. You do have to light switch that thing to get your finger out of the way. If you try to push button that, yeah, that flipper tab will come up on you. It's really difficult to get one of those fully tuned for both of those. So keep that in mind there. This is the TS240. And this is a night morning design. This is another one that I've done some anodization work to. A little strangeness on the pocket clip there. I did the pivot colors on there since they were titanium. And yeah, here we are. This one does kind of remind me quite a bit of this TS231 over here. It's a little bit thicker in general. And it's a lot of fun to deploy and everything. Has really, really great action. And on there, super nice and drop shotty. And you got those guys on both sides for being able to open that. This is more of a clip point kind of thing, though. Not exactly my absolute favorite blade shape. But still a really nice, solid knife. So, yes. That is basically where I have come to the end of this particular video, and I will continue in the next one. There is a spot here. I will cover that in the next one. It's just absolutely enormous, so it just really doesn't fit there. So, all right, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.